RCMP Heritage Center. Good afternoon, the schools joining us from the East Coast as well. So glad to have you guys here for our On Patrol, our first On Patrol for the new school year. My name is Mark. I'm one of the educators here at the center. And so glad to have you guys join us. Just a reminder that this is being recorded and will be available for viewing after the live stream as well. So I do know that there's a few of our classes that are unable to join us for our live stream, but you can enjoy this afterwards as well. Just a friendly reminder that we encourage photos to be taken. Does not have to be photos of your student's face, but any photos, feel free to email me at the email that was sent out earlier. So that way we have some cool photos of your students participating. Also, the chat feature as well is open and ready to go. Feel free to write there, say hi, where you're from. And this is where we're also going to be receiving some of our questions for our guest speaker later on in the presentation. Please be respectful, though, in that chat. And we do have a monitor making sure everything goes according to plan. So feel free to go ahead and chat in the chat box there. So the RCMP Heritage Center is located in Regina, Saskatchewan, the home of the RCMP, as well as the capital city of Saskatchewan. We have schools locally here in Regina on the call, so welcome to our local schools and schools from all across Canada. We have groups of students from pretty much every single province and territory here listening today. So the RCMP Heritage Center is dedicated to tell the story of the force, and we do this by many different programs here in person in our center, led by our staff here, as well as virtually for students all across Canada, including this popular program On Patrol, which we typically have over 3,000 students on a call at one time, listening to fun facts about the RCMP from RCMP officers. So with that, I do want to introduce to you our guest here. Our guest comes from Regina. She is a member here in F Division, so Saskatchewan. So the museum in this picture is that museum is the building with the circle roof and the pillars kind of like swooping up. Behind that building is actually the headquarters of the RCMP here in Saskatchewan, also known as F Division. So I do want to introduce to you Constable Caitlin Cooper from Regina here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Okay. So hello everybody. So my name is Constable Caitlin Cooper. Like Mark said here, I work in Saskatchewan. So my role right now in Saskatchewan is I'm part of a unit called General Investigation Section. So we are responsible for investigating serious and complex crimes or cases here. So we will often deploy throughout southern Saskatchewan. We'll be based out of headquarters here in Regina, but we may have to travel for our work here. And so our responsibilities include investigating crimes such as attempted murders, but also serious assaults, potentially some serious fraud investigations. So dealing with money crimes or also known as commercial crimes. But predominantly persons crimes. So anything where somebody else is injured as a result of another's actions. This is not where I've been the entire time of my career. I actually just got here in March of 2024. So I've been part of that. We call it GIS for about a year and a half now. So I'll just jump back actually into the beginning of my career here. So I've been a member for 8 years. This is my 9th year now with the RCMP. And I have moved around quite a bit, as you know, and maybe some of you guys there know. The RCMP, you do have to be mobile, so you do have to move around a little bit. So I started my career in Grand Prairie, which is a medium-sized city in Alberta. So it's got about 70 or 80,000 population there. I am actually from Ontario. So it was quite a bit of a change there to be part of Alberta. And the city of Grand Prairie actually has got a great mix of person and property crime. So when you start in the RCMP, you're exposed to everything. Like as a on patrol officer, you go to any call that is dispatched. So if somebody needs you, they call you, you go. So it was a great opportunity to be exposed to many different types of crimes, and that's where I found out I love to investigate person crimes. But actually, in the previous
Oh,
still
sorry,
here,
sorry,
okay,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
we get the opportunity to work with actually quite a bit different units, which is how I came to know what GIS is. So just here on the side, you can see the man swiping the vehicle. So that's forensics. We actually deal most often with forensics. They come and help us on a lot of calls. So I may, be able to investigate the crimes, but I can't quite always collect the evidence. So we'll call on an investigative team, forensics, to actually he's swiping for fingerprints. So
are these teams located here in Regina, or is it in?
They're everywhere. So they're in Regina, they're in Saskatoon, Prince Albert, Yorkton. But any major city with a bigger hub will usually have forensics, but like us, they'll travel. So we will deal often with them. The image underneath, ERT, the emergency response team, we will sometimes have to deal with them. So our role is kind of like the TV show detectives. So we're not, if it's a dangerous situation, we're not the ones going in first. It'll usually be our emergency response team. So we'll partner quite often with them because, again, like I said, we deal with serious persons crimes. So sometimes it's a very violent person, and we need a specialized team to make sure that everybody is safe. And then underneath, we actually have used the underwater recovery team. And fun fact, the program coordinator for the underwater recovery team actually is in Regina. So we do have a team here, but you'll see it on different coasts. Like you'll see it on BC, big water, up north where all the water, and then off on the East Coast too. So they'll do things for us, like they'll recover maybe weapons that have been thrown into a body of water or different pieces of evidence we might need them to go down and get. So in my career, I moved from Grand Prairie up to high level, which is an isolated, so a small post in northern Alberta. And then this little guy here is actually a dog that I rescued from a neglect situation. So I went from kind of like the big city into the small city, and then I found my love of animal rescue. It's always good to be part of a community, initiative or work with nonprofits and whatnot. So we can actually go to the next slide there. Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, these little guys on the top, the little pups there were found in a wooded area with their mom. So we don't just deal with persons crimes. We have to deal with all our vulnerable victims. So these guys we had to rescue, as well as like the little litter underneath there. So I'm very passionate about animal welfare and animal rescue, and that's just one of the many hats I think that, especially when you're a police officer, you have to keep your mind open and and rescue everybody. Yeah. So at one point, I had 16 dogs in my house. Wow. I was driving them to rescue organizations on my days off. So, and actually in that photo up there was a house fire where we were able to rescue their pup. Yeah. And again, we'd have different partnerships. Obviously, we work with the firefighters, we work with paramedics. We all need to work together to make sure that we do our job well, right?
And keep people safe.
And keep people safe.
And animals.
And our animals,
yes.
Right? I do love my pets. So you can see in the bottom there, that's one of our police dogs. And just like I said, we partner very closely with forensics. We often partner very closely with police dogs too. Yeah. And I'll share a story just recently of a great call that we had with our police dog service later on in the presentation there. But
just so we are keeping things clear, the puppies that are in the screen are not necessarily RCMP dogs. They are dogs that you rescued and find home for. So kind of working with the rescue agencies versus RCMP. Next to the dog.
You got it. Next to the actual police dog here.
And for those who are hadn't actually had the opportunity to join us with Constable McClarity last school year. We had a dog presenter here. The only dogs that RCMP do use are German Shepherds. So the German Shepherd in the bottom left-hand corner is an RCMP dog, and all the rest of the dogs in this photo are puppies.
Are not part of the RCMP dog program.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yes, as much as cute they are. Yeah. So yes.
So from there, we can actually go to the next slide here.
Yeah.
So I'll get into just a bit more of what we do. So again, sure, we deal with actual crimes in progress, but we also deal with emergency situations. So being a police officer, you wear many different hats. So just like with animal rescue, with responding to calls, we also have to respond to natural disaster situations as part of keeping a community safe. So in this particular photo, this is actually my truck, and it's hooked up to a trailer in northern Alberta in 2023. And it was actually quite a few places. It was up north, and it was probably in Saskatchewan too. An outbreak of forest fires that got out of control, right? So High Level has a detachment to the west and has a detachment to the east, about 45 minutes. So this was a detachment called Chate, and it was about 45 minutes west of High Level. Forest fires were out of control that day, and the wind was blowing, so it was making the fire spread even faster. And then in northern Alberta, if anybody is from there or has seen it, trees everywhere, beautiful forests, which unfortunately was very dry that year, and perfect fuel for a fire.
Environment. Yeah.
So with Chate, it's a community, but it also has a detachment there. So when we got the call that this fire was actually 8 kilometers away, so the color that you see the sky, that was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It should be sunny. There's no filter on this picture. That was the color of the sky. We were asked to go out to Chate with our trailers to start evacuating. We needed to evacuate not only the people of Chate, but the detachment too. So if you think about detachments, they have evidence in them from other files. They have the tools that we use that we need to recover, just because it's obviously not safe for things like firearms and whatnot to be left in a building, right? And then, of course, our electronics and whatnot. So we had to rush. We didn't know where the fire was or how fast it was spreading. So we had to go. We had to evacuate all that material from the detachment, as well as making sure everybody was safely and being organized.
And I'm sure when people hear evacuation and seeing the fires, it's panic.
So it is. So as a police officer, you're expected to be professional, remain calm in these situations. You're scared too. You don't know where the fire is, right? You have no idea how close it is, and it does bring an element of danger to your own. But you think about the people first, right? And our job is ultimately public safety. So happy to say that we did get everybody out. We did clear the detachment. We were able to safely evacuate the entire community, and no injuries. It ended up Chate didn't actually have any structure damage, which is surprising. But that's also thanks to our firefighters as well. We're able to soak the area and make sure it was safe.
So how big was this community?
Chate is probably less than 2,000 people, so it's a decent size, but it's down into a valley too, so it can be quite dangerous. So yes, that was quite a day. Actually, we can jump to the next one. So as you can see, we got a little vehicle here. So I'm going to give you guys a case study, and I want you to imagine that you're a police officer and you're on duty. So you're at work, and your job, you're on patrol, right? So you are responding to whatever call comes in. So for this particular call, let's say it's 11:30 at night. You're working. You have a few other police officers that are working with you, but we're all in our own cars. So we're all through the city, right? And let's say the police dog is on. He lets you know, hey, I'm just in the area. I'm going to be driving around. You get this call. It's an erratic driver. So erratic, driving around everywhere, probably in the lounge lane.
Yeah, sweeping through and
So, and then the car, it's described as orange. No other details.
No other.
All right. So you've got your eye on an orange vehicle driving like crazy.
Yep. Yep.
So you kind of have a general area. You're going to be kind of in that area looking around. So then let's say another call comes in. Now you have a crash and it has an orange vehicle. So in your mind, you're thinking
that might be a good indicator.
might be my vehicle.
Yeah.
So you come across the vehicle. It looks like this. So it's got some damage to the front. It looks like the airbag has deployed. We got a few little, probably beverage cans on the ground and a cell phone left in the vehicle. And all the doors are open. There's nobody there. So the police dog has let you know, hey, I'm going to be in the area. That way, if I see anything, I'll let you know. So in terms of now we've got this call, we've got this in front of us. What are some things that we're going to start looking at to help us get some evidence? Well, I'd say, do you know those beverage cans?
Yep.
And then paired with, well, this guy was driving like crazy. Maybe we have an intoxicated driver. We've got an airbag deployed. So now we're thinking about our partners. So forensics, maybe when that airbag went off into that person's face, we may have got some saliva on it, right? So we may want to we can cut that airbag out and then we can give that to forensics and they'll do their thing. They'll find some DNA on there.
Yeah, and saliva is actually a really good source of DNA too.
Excellent. So, yes, saliva. We can actually pair that right to the person.
Yeah.
So, and let's say we run the license plate, the vehicle's stolen. Oh no. So now we don't know who this vehicle. We can't say, oh, the person that this vehicle belongs to is the driver. We can't say that. Yeah. We may look at the cell phone, right? So our unit, so GIS, we might have to write a warrant for the cell phone, and a warrant basically lets us look at the phone inside the phone.
So without that warrant, you wouldn't be able to go into the phone. And what happens if you would go into the phone and you didn't have a warrant?
If let's say we found evidence, let's say we found out whose cell phone it was, then that file would go to court, and then the whole file would be dropped.
Because you didn't follow the proper
we got to follow the law. So the most important thing is, as police officers, we must follow the law, right? In terms of how we're going to gather evidence. So,
and how long does it take to get a warrant? Usually?
It can be time dependent. Okay. So we would write that warrant, and then again with partnerships, it would go to a section called digital forensics. Okay. So it would be the digital side of looking for things, and so they typically like around a 6-month window, just because we don't know how much data is going to be in that phone. So we're going to probably be waiting a little bit, but then they would go through that, and then they'd give that evidence to us, and then we go through it. So let's say the police dog comes, and the police dog is an excellent tool, which I'll get into a little bit later. So he thinks, okay, you know what? It's very likely of just the way that it is that, there's no tire tracks and no other vehicle was seen in the area. So maybe this person took off on foot. So what we would do as patrol officers, we just kind of keep a little bit of a distance from the vehicle because the dog picks up scent very, very well. So the dog might start on that driver's side, kind of go around the car, and then if he picks up a strong track at that driver's side, he's off. So let's say 3 or 4 blocks, a suspect is apprehended. Then he can do a reverse track back to the vehicle. So I have calls almost exactly like this, where I've seen the police dog go and apprehend our suspect. And let's say we'll have a little bit more. We'll have maybe video surveillance on the top of this building that shows the guy was wearing a black sweater and blue jeans and maybe red runners. So we'll match all those things together. So that's just a typical call you can get on a Friday night. It can happen.
Yeah. No, and I think this is a great case study because obviously sometimes we can't really talk about actual per se cases, but this actually gives us a good image of, okay, what is the thought process of an investigator in this case with the vehicle. And also talking about how you talk about different partnerships too, talking with different partnerships and making sure that you apprehend the right person.
And I mean, really, as a police officer, you're not on your own. If you need help on something or you're not sure, definitely there's other investigators or different units or different teams that you can talk to. So this this is a very typical call in a bigger city. Friday, Saturday night is a time that a lot of people like to go out at night.
Yeah.
And as police officers, we're usually on to, around that 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. We're just looking for vehicles and making sure people are being safe and making sure that they're not drinking and driving, because that's actually the leading cause of death in Canada. So it's serious.
Yeah. So you mentioned night calls, and so your schedule. Do you work like 24/7, or do you?
So as a on patrol officer, you're expected to work at all hours of the day.
Okay.
And then for some of us, so right now for myself, we'll typically work in the day, but we'll be on call through the week. So for something like this, I might be home actually.
Okay. Yeah.
And I might get a call and say, "We need you out here. We just have this call. We're not really sure what we can do."
Okay.
So I would go out there and
and then do
however long it takes.
Okay. All right.
We can actually jump to. I think we can go to another.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Before we just jump there,
go ahead.
I just want to remind people to write those questions in the chat. We will have some time at the end to answer any of the questions. So.
Okay, we'll jump to this one here. The nice part, I guess, about our jobs in the RCMP is we can actually take on secondary roles. Sometimes this would be something where we call it working off the side of our desk on things, right? So I have my primary job as a member of GIS, but we're allowed to take on maybe secondary roles that kind of support our actual job. So one of the roles that I'm working towards, so I'm kind of in almost like a mentorship or understudy program with the forensic art. So this is something where we have lots of tools in our toolbox on how we can find suspects, but sometimes we exhaust them. Maybe we don't have video surveillance of a suspect if they commit a crime. Maybe this is somebody that is just not known to us. So this is actually based a lot on victim or witness statements, which our unit is expected to take a lot of them. We're predominantly, I guess, a detective, right? So we sit with a lot of people, we talk with a lot of people. So this particular sketch is actually one that I have done, or it's my sketch, and it was based off of a victim statement from an armed robbery. So there was no surveillance that picked up this person. It's a small town bank, so very small.
Very small. So.
They just didn't have the systems in place, which is fine. You know, we do what we can. But she had a really great look at this person, and her memory. So it doesn't always happen. Especially when you go through a traumatic event, the memory can sometimes go. We understand that, but she had some really great memories of this person. She remembered that his hood kind of came to a point. That was something that she mentioned. She mentioned his eyes were very clear. They looked very, bright. They're light colored. She remembered that he had like a face mask, but it was kind of like a camouflage e-print. So what she does and what happened here was we sat very much how you and I are sitting right now, and we had a very in-depth, interview or statement where I asked her to walk me through exactly what happened. And so she started from the beginning of that day. And then when it came to describing the suspect, for myself, I sit there and I draw kind of the outline. And then she goes through it with me and she says, no, his eyes need to be more like this, his eyebrows. So she said he had like a scrunched, kind of angry face. And it's up to me to try and get those details as close as I can. So so this sketch took about 7 hours in total. So she was with me for 7 hours describing. So it can be very exhausting.
Yeah, that's a long, especially
for me, but also for her to relive like the situation.
That's true. Didn't think of that side of things.
And then at the end of the sketch, she lets me know, yep, this is pretty accurate. So for this one, it was pretty accurate. I don't know at the point if this person has been apprehended, but this is out there, and hopefully, if that person hasn't been arrested yet, then hopefully it will help.
So you mentioned your mentorship, and actually we were just talking before the start of the presentation. We actually had your mentor here a few school years ago, Heidi Marshall,
Yeah.
Constable Heidi Marshall from Saskatoon.
Yeah.
And she actually went right into the details of how to do this and the importance of it. So this image now is sent out, if I remember correctly from what Heidi was saying, is that this image is sent out and then hopefully find the right person.
So then that way the public now becomes
Yeah.
a partner in this.
Okay.
So this gets put out into a news release. And this sort of evidence gathering is usually one that's done at the very end, because it means that we've exhausted interviews, we've exhausted video surveillance. So this is just kind of like a next tool, next step.
Okay.
And then we rely on, the public is actually our greatest source of information. Yeah. So we rely on people to call it in. So we have Crime Stoppers, which allows people to report things anonymously if they feel like they're in danger or whatnot. So it's great. And we really do rely on the people, just regular everyday, very much like yourselves. So it can be difficult, especially when they're wearing like they're camouflaging themselves, right? They're wearing a little getup, but it certainly helps if people think even just the littlest details, right? Oh, I think I know somebody that has a hood like that. Okay. We'll take that information too.
Yeah, and in some cases too, like witnesses that give you details for drawing, sometimes there might not be a mask, right? So there'll be different features of their face that might help, correct? Completely. Like in this case, it was covered, so
the eyes,
main feature. Yeah.
Great investigator, but she actually had some sketches in the last couple of years where it was really the details of the nose and the mouth that gave that person away. So it was up to the person being interviewed to remember those very like little details. So maybe the next time that you're looking at your parents or your friends or your teacher, have a look at your face and say, oh, this person has a slightly different feature, a very more exaggerated or minimized feature that maybe I didn't think about before, or maybe they have really big eyes and I didn't really notice that they had really big eyes before, but or some people have very hooded eyes, like their eyelid comes down a bit more. So it's just little things that you don't see on the day to day, right?
Yeah, or you don't even think to note those things until you're in certain situations.
Completely. Yeah. So it's it really speaks to people's observation.
Yeah. And this is, like you said, just last case. You don't do this for every single case.
I wish, because it would be fun for me. But it's basically it's definitely a tool that we use a lot in persons crimes where it's a one-on-one with somebody, and you could be in a house or you could be in a private building where it's you and this other person. We'll use a lot of sketches, for that. So sometimes you'll see it a lot in assaults where somebody hurts somebody else and there's no witnesses. So we are relying on that person's memory, and then most often we'll most likely do a sketch on that. Yeah, so I think we hopefully we have the other image. I'm not sure if it's oh, okay, we'll do this one. I think we might have missed the police dog, but I'll go back and do that one. So we just in our role right now, because we support the front line, but we are not the front line. We may be called on to do some extra duties that we were talking about this off camera, especially in Saskatchewan. We're experiencing kind of shortages right now. That things are busy, and it may mean that we have to wear many different hats on this. So actually, within the last couple of weeks, I got to go back on duty on patrol, and I got to fly up north in northern Saskatchewan to work relief for about a week and a half. So it was actually my first time in a RCP plane, and we have, I guess, a replica of this right outside the Heritage Center. I can see it right now. It was very cool. So sometimes in these places that we work, you can't get there by road. You have to fly. So you fly in this tiny little Pilatus is the name of the plane. And it's a RCMP civilian member that flies it, and it only has 8 seats, so it's including the pilot, right? So it's quite tiny, but it's a very cool experience. You fly with other RCMP members, and you go into these communities to work. So it definitely speaks to that no day is is like another. You're kind of doing things differently all the time.
So when you go to these other communities, you're general duty, so you're
general
doing
duty.
Community policing.
You
and-
got it.
Okay.
But the nice thing about that too is, especially, we have a lot of people, not just on general duty, but in other units doing these things. So you get to speak to other members and kind of expose them to different units and different. So somebody that's working there might have a year service, and they may have never met a member from GIS before. So it's a good chance we get to work on their investigations together and kind of help them think about maybe different ways on how they can move their investigations forward. So I enjoy actually going out into these communities and working, because there's definitely like different techniques that we can teach them that
that will be beneficial to that member too.
Completely. So it's a very, I don't know any other job really that you can fly out of and go do some policing and fly back. You get to move all over the country or the province.
So these planes, they fly out of airports.
Yeah, they do.
Like into like where do they fly? If you're flying into like a smaller community, is there? They may not be an airport there, or
no,
what do you do?
And that's quite cool.
Okay.
So when we're flying out, we'll fly out from some major spots. So this plane flies out of Regina, and then it'll make several different stops, or it'll fly out of Prince Albert, which is another city in Saskatchewan that's a bit larger size. So it does mean that if you do not live in Regina or you do not live in Prince Albert, you do have to get yourself there. And they do fly into you have to think very, very small communities, no airports. Sometimes it is literally just a pavement strip, and that's where you land, and that's where it is.
You're there.
Yeah, so it can be it can be quite crazy, because you're not flying. You may fly out of, so in Prince Albert, you fly out of an actual airport, but we're kind of to this side, so you're not dealing with all the major commercial liners or anything like that. You definitely feel like you're in the boonies a little bit. That you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and so you definitely get to check out some very cool communities, but it's a different experience for sure. I did want to talk about maybe one more thing real quick.
I will
maybe we'll go back to we'll talk about the police dogs. So I just wanted to I guess tell you one more story here, just about a case that actually our file worked on very recently in terms of partnerships. We, just like I said, we have different tools in our toolbox, and a police dog is actually a major one. So a file that we had recently, where a firearm was a tool, or I guess a weapon that was used in the crime, and the person hid the firearm and hid the bullets. So we didn't really have a whole lot to go on, but we had a general area. So it just speaks to how great these dogs are and how strong their sense of smell is. Because you can imagine, how do you smell a gun? Like, how do you smell bullets? What kind of scent does that kick up? So we had the general area, the police dog went out, and it was like a beeline. This dog went from the police car into the woods. It was probably less than a minute. Found the gun. Absolutely amazing. And the gun was actually buried, like it was in mud. And the dog was still able to pick up that. So that was it was an amazing breakthrough in our file, because we definitely needed to recover that weapon. It goes through a lot of testing now where they match the bullets to the firearm. So there's a lot of different pieces of evidence that we really did need in this. And the dog was such an amazing tool for us to be able to go in and get that for us, because it moved our file along. It was absolutely incredible.
I know the dog program. Working here, we've had the opportunities to work with Dave Clarity, and he's an officer here in Regina, and he was showcasing his dog, Hawk, at the time, and just talking about the importance of the dogs, how they work, where they train to. So for those who didn't join us for that presentation, the dog training program is actually in Innisfail, Alberta. So that's where all the dogs are trained, and officers are paired up with dogs, and they get sent across Canada into different areas of provinces. So they team up with,
they make themselves available to us. They make themselves available to everybody. So if you're a general duty patrol officer, you need a dog with you.
Yep.
For us, as GIS
Yeah.
members, if we have a file where we think a dog could help us,
Mhm.
I mean, it goes to
Yeah.
show they really do a great job. But it speaks to our partnerships. We rely on many different people, including general duty,
Mhm.
to help us solve our files or to
Yeah.
move our files forward. So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am, what I've done in my career, and
Yeah.
and kind of what I look for as an investigator.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I have been getting a lot of questions in,
Oh,
so thank you so much. Feel free to continue writing those questions down. Unfortunately, we may not be able to get through all of them today, but we will definitely. So we actually have yes, students joining us from grade 3, 4, all the way up to grade 12. So there's going to be quite a few range of questions here, but one of them comes in from our grade 4 class. What kind of training do you have to complete to be an RCMP officer? I guess that is actually a good point to start with, and then there's actually specific questions about crime scenes. So we'll start with the general question first.
That is a great question. To become an RCMP officer, just like Mark said here, the training is Regina, the Heritage Center is actually right next to the heart of the training program. You have to apply, you have to go through a few interviews just to make sure that one, you're suitable for this, and two, that they want you to be successful. And then you attend Depot, which is in Regina, and right now it's a 6-month training program where you learn a lot. It's exhausting, but it was a fantastic time. You learn basically the basics on how to be a police officer. You go through a lot of fitness. You do a lot of running, and then you learn about your guns. So you do a lot of shooting, and it's actually quite a bit fun. I never shot a gun before going to Depot, so I got to learn about that. You learn the basics of investigating. So you get paired up with, and you get to do things called detachments, which is you're basically a pretend police officer. You get a call, you go to the call, and then the instructors watch to make sure, you've got the basics. You're asking the right questions. Once you graduate Depot, a 6-month service, you go to your actual real life detachment. And you get paired with a field coach, and the field coach has you for another 6 months. Basically helps you become a police officer, and then from there everybody's available to help you. Basically they want you to be successful.
And Depot is the only school too, so
go.
so no matter where you live in Canada, especially our older students in the audience today, if you're looking at a career in the RCMP, it's fantastic based off of the presentation so far, but you do need to come here to Regina to train.
Have to come to Regina for 6 months. And you live here. They have basically it's dorms. You live in Depot. They feed you here. They take care of you here. You're here for 6 months.
And you get paid.
And now you get paid. You get an allowance now, which is nice.
Yes. That's I think newer-ish.
It is newer within the last 10 years. They're actually talking about increasing the allowance, which is even better.
Yeah. Okay. So Depot, that's a great question, especially for those who don't know too much about how to become an RCMP officer, but we have now crime scene specific questions.
All right, let's get to it.
So this question comes in. On a crime scene scenario, what if you can't identify an owner of the vehicle because the license plates are all kind of bashed up and maybe part of it's missing or whatever? So definitely some
things that we can do. So vehicles, if they don't have a license plate, they always have like a secondary identifier, like a vehicle identification number. We call it a VIN. There may be times where that VIN is obstructed as well. And that would usually just tell us the registered owner. We actually have another section that deals with vehicle identification numbers. So there's secret places actually where the VIN is on the vehicle that I don't even know, but it's for this team. They'll go out and they'll look. But there's other things too, like I said, we're looking, we can get fingerprints from inside the vehicle. We can get DNA from inside the vehicle. We can actually write a warrant for the electronic system in the vehicle. It's for especially these newer vehicles that are all electronic. if any phone has been paired with them, we'll be able to get that information. So it may not be that we'll necessarily solve it right away, but it'll give us some stepping stones to go into. If we find receipts from purchases in the vehicle, we can go back and find out, what time something was purchased, go through video surveillance. So it's just when you're thinking about investigating and crime scenes and things like that, you try and think of every single little piece of information, like even the beer can or the can inside the car. We might be able to swab that can for DNA. And it may not tell us exactly who was driving, but who was in the car. So that's a great question.
Yeah. So this is about witnesses now.
Yeah.
How do you find witnesses after an event happens? Especially if they don't come forward themselves.
Totally. Yeah. And this is actually a big problem, especially in my unit, where people don't necessarily want to get involved all the time. And that's completely understandable. But we still need to talk to everybody that we believe may have seen or know something. We have teams that are on social media, so not necessarily my unit, but again, we partner with people. And we may have to do things like if it's a victim or a suspect and we have their phone, we may be able to find contacts in that phone. It's very often that people still talk about things that they have seen. So we really need to get boots on the ground, talk to the detachment. If this is a person that is known to us, who are their closest friends? Then we'll talk to their closest friends, and they may say like, I wasn't there, but so and so was there, and this might be paired with in their phone. It really is. You have to think about every single little piece that's available to you, whether it's online, going door to door, talking to neighbors, things like that. Usually, people can point us to like that next breadcrumb that we can kind of chase.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of. Oh, it would be a lot more easier if people just came.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if people just told us. That's not always the case.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to combine two questions because they're similar. What do you do when there are lots of calls all at once? And how long does it normally take to respond to? Perfect. So those are a combination of two questions.
Sure. Yeah. And it has been the case, especially Christmas, New Year's. Those are busy times where you're getting, I would say, a lot of calls. Let's say New Year's. I think especially when you only have 3 or 4 people working and you have 50 calls that are coming in, you have to do something called triage. So if you go to the hospital and there's a lot of people that are injured, the nurses triage. They go to the most serious thing first and they kind of work their way down. So that can influence response times, especially if the most serious call is a time-consuming call. So we try to call everybody and the call's coming in and tell them, hey, we're responding to other things right now, but we will get to your call when we can. Every call is important, right? We try, but sometimes there's things that you have to respond to first. So it really is. You get them usually on your computer, so you can read through them to see, but you have to decide what is the most serious call I need to go to first, which is usually somebody being hurt, right? We need to get to that one first so we can help that person and stop them, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Yeah, great question though.
Yeah. So this is a question, and this question comes up a lot because Canada has a lot of different police organizations as well. So this question actually comes from a grade 4 class, do RCMP respond to calls in a city where there are already other city police officers? So like, let's say here in Regina or in Saskatoon, like a lot of our urban centers have their own municipal police officers. So what do you do in those cases? Because in some cases, there's RCMP detachment within the larger city, but they may not police that area, just the surrounding area.
And just like the municipal force have a lot of respect for one another, which leads into that we won't overstep our jurisdiction. So in Regina, we have Regina Police, but we have detachments just on the outside of Regina. So if there is a call in Regina, Regina Police will handle that call. If that call starts in Regina and it starts to head out to White City where there's RCMP and it is RCMP jurisdiction, Regina Police will notify the RCMP and say, this call is now coming into your territory. And then it'll kind of switch who is the lead now. So then the RCMP will take over. We work together, but if it's in a zone where another police force,
Mhm.
I say, has jurisdiction, where they're the ones in charge, they'll be the ones to manage that call. If they need help, then they'll usually lean on their actual police force first.
Mhm.
But if it starts to come into RCMP territory, they'll let
Yeah.
us know and we'll take over.
I'm thinking, and for those who like crime shows, for example,
Totally.
most of them are in the United States.
Yeah.
Where, let's say, if the FBI gets called or
Mhm.
comes to the scene, FBI just takes over
Yep.
everything, no matter where. RCMP is not like that.
No.
Even though we're kind of maybe similar-ish,
Mhm.
but the RCMP wouldn't take over an investigation in an area.
No,
So,
we wouldn't
so,
take over.
yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Sorry about this. There's a lot of
that's
questions coming
great.
in. Yeah. Okay, so these are some personal questions to you now about your career and your life as well, because you mentioned at the beginning you rescued puppies.
Yeah.
So someone has actually sent out, it's like, how many dogs have you rescued? Do you have dogs still? Do you have your own police dog as well? Yeah.
I wish.
Yes.
I would love my own police dog, but they only go to police dog handlers.
Yes.
But yeah, if I could have my own police dog, that would be awesome. I've rescued a lot of dogs, especially when you're up north. There's a lot of strays, and there's not a lot of veterinarians who can spay and neuter their dogs. So unfortunately, the population gets to be quite excessive. So I want to say that right now, I've probably personally rescued over 200 dogs from some of these communities, and they go to nonprofit animal rescues who are absolutely phenomenal. And what they'll do is they'll take the dog, they'll care for the dog, and then adopt the dog out. I do have dogs. I have 4 dogs.
Okay.
So I have 3 that are rescues, and then I am married. My husband wanted a 4th dog that we call them a designer dog. So we have a designer dog, but 3 of them are rescues, and actually one of my dogs is a personal rescue. We love as you can tell, we love our animals, and if I could have probably 10 dogs, I definitely would have it. But I think I'd be in trouble at home. I'd have a lot of cleaning to do.
Someone mentioned in one of the pictures that you showed, this is actually from Kipling School. The dog that was rescued in your picture, where you were uniting the dog with its owner. I think it's the one with
you got it with the fire, yes. Yeah. And actually, it was quite an intense call. Right. It was a house fire, which it can happen to anybody, right? And the family got out, but sometimes in these situations, the animal gets scared, gets spooked, and then goes hiding. It's important to get everybody out of the house and let the firefighters do their job. So actually the mother, she had young children, came up to me and told me the dog is still in the house. If something bad has happened to the dog, please don't let my kids see this, obviously. So I let the firefighters know there's probably a pooch in this house. And the firefighters did a fantastic job. They found the dog. He was hiding under the bed. And I was there to receive the dog because we don't want the firefighters to be taken away from fighting the fire. So at that point, the dog was fine, and it was a very emotional time. I was able to reunite the dog with his family, and actually he got like a little puppy oxygen mask from a fire, so they can, so he got some first aid too. But they're happy, and the dog was completely fine and back with their family.
Well, you mentioned that you work closely with like other agencies like fire and rescue and paramedics. So, like in this case, you wouldn't necessarily be the one going into fighting the fire. No. You leave that to the professionals that they know what they're doing. But in some cases, though, like we've had some officers here talk about if they're in a small rural community, they might step in and help.
You need to wear many different hats.
So it's if there's a fire department, you normally use the fire department. But if in some cases, if there is only maybe 3 volunteer fire departments in a small little community, I'm thinking, especially up in the north.
Oh yeah.
We had Constable Jason Evans from Havoc Northwest Territories. He was telling us about, I wear many hats. Like he actually helped put out a fire, and he's like, I would never think I would do that.
For sure. I would say for my own career, I've had to I've had to do a lot of first aid. So
Okay.
sometimes we'll get an update saying the ambulance is over an hour away,
Oh.
especially in these communities.
Yeah.
So you're expected to help that person.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes it means you have to keep that person alive. So it's
Okay.
quite intense. You
Okay.
do have to. You may not necessarily have the perfect training in it. I'm sure that officer didn't have perfect
Yeah.
training on how to
Yeah.
fight a fire,
Yeah.
but you just do what you can, right? You have to try your best.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more, and I did find it in the list.
And I think this is the perfect way to end as well, because
Sure.
we're looking at the time. It's like, wow, it's already 11:50.
Yeah.
So,
So much.
what is the best part of your job, or the most fun? And also on the opposite side, what are some of the scary parts of your
Yeah.
job?
I'm
Yeah.
lucky right now in that I work with a very small team. I
Mhm.
think I work with 4 other constables and I have a corporal and a sergeant. I love the team. We work really well together. I love being able to go out to detachments and help them with their calls. Again, I deal most often with persons crime. So, you can see some things that maybe you wish you didn't,
Mhm.
but I love digging into files and I love solving crime. So I think that that's the best part about my job is it's every call is different. You're not bored. Who knows on a Monday you could have a crazy fire, and then on a Wednesday another absolutely crazy call. So I would say I'm always interested in what's coming in.
Yeah.
There's definitely some scary parts, especially when you're dealing with violent people or whatnot. But you get to the point, and I think the training really does a good job on this, that when I'm headed to a call and maybe it's 20 minutes to get there, and it might be a scary situation, I have time to think about everything that might happen in this call. And by the time I get there, I'm so focused on what needs to happen to keep myself and my friends and the public safe, that you usually don't think about how scary it is till it's already done. And then you think, oh my, that was quite scary.
Yeah. Well, I put myself in that situation.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out,
Yeah.
but you just don't have time when you're but and it's okay to be scared. A lot of people don't admit to that,
Mhm.
but that's why we do, it's good to talk with your coworkers after, and you might realize, oh, that was scary for the two of us, but chatting about it helps us process it.
And I guess just for those out there, and this is my question,
Mhm.
because we do have a lot of our seniors, grade 11, grade 12 on this call as well. If they're looking at potential career with the RCMP,
Mhm.
is there any guidance that you would give our older students if they're looking
Yeah,
in a career in
absolutely.
policing?
It's,
Yeah.
Policing is still a phenomenal career, and it's great for men. It's not just you don't just need to be a patrol officer. You can go on and do many different things. The important ones are make sure you keep up with your fitness. It can be very physically demanding, but also to make sure that you lead with integrity, that you really want this and you really want to be able to help people. Um, to be a compassionate person. You're usually, as a police officer, meeting people on the worst day of their lives, and to be able to empathize with them. So you're not a robot, and at the end of the day, it's important to think about that, but to make sure that you're able to see the person for who they are, and it's okay if you don't have all the answers when you're going to those calls, but to be able to work with others, I'd say, is a really important one.
Yeah. And is there any advice that you would say, how would they, if they're interested,
Mhm.
how would they pursue a career?
Absolutely.
So,
Great. Well, if you're near a detachment, I would suggest if they're still able to go on ride along,
right.
go on a ride along and see if it's something that you like,
Mhm.
or you can reach out to an RCMP member and get their advice. Most police officers really do want to help you. They want to be able to answer your questions. So if you have somebody that you can reach out to, and going onto the RCMP website for applications, going from there, it's now thankfully pretty straightforward. It wasn't always the case. But yes, making sure that you got your physicality under check and whatnot. So.
And that website will give you contact information, all you need to do.
Yeah,
okay, so if there is anyone that is interested, those teachers could send us another email here, and we could definitely send you the appropriate documents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is everything.
Thanks.
So thank you so much, everyone, for attending today, and those who will be watching this afterwards. I hope that you learned a lot. Thank you so much for being respectful in the chat and for your questions. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Yeah, we're good.